Whoa, look, it's time to go viral. I'm homicidal, I'm killing all my rivals. I'm the man, shit, I put that on the Bible. I Spotify my target, cause you know I got the title. Hey, I'm a Mac too. I told baby shake that ass like she Apple. She said it's real, so she got my name tattooed. House full, so I hit it in the back room. Whoa, baby said she need it now, peep the urgency. I want a little Kim before she had the surgery. Leg spread on that hardcore poster. She love twerking, she just do it for the coach. Big dog, bull master. 6 tray Chevrolet, I'm classic. All these niggas mad at me, that's tragic. The main bitch in the bed, that's graphic. Yeah, we about to go viral. Hey.
What's the deal, people? It's your boy, the one and only, your host that do the most, Mr. Viral himself, aka the villain. Because they hate me for my opinion. We back at y'all with another episode of the Viral Way Podcast. Make sure you share, like, subscribe to the channel. As always, I got my boy here with me, the co-host of the co-host.
Yeah, Messiah the Great, and you already know we're going to lead the way.
Messiah the Great, we leading the way. Man, it done been a minute, man. It's good to see all the viewers back. We got a special guest in the house. I'm going to let her introduce herself. She is well-educated. She has a deep... You know what? I'm going to just let her introduce herself. I don't even want to put the extras on it because they're going to say, hey, you're doing too much. Go ahead and let them know who you is.
Probably going to say I'm doing too much too. But I'm Dr. Gloria Hudson. I am a clinical psychologist and I have about 5 degrees. But Ooh. I think that my experience in the world probably sets me above those degrees. So that's it,
5 degrees?
Yeah.
You want to, what you got degrees in? You want to break them down? You got to be proud of them?
Oh, yeah. I went to USC, University of California, Trojan.
SC.
Yeah, I was an English
SC.
major. Then I went ahead and got a master's degree in clinical psych. Then I decided I was going to go ahead and get a doctorate in clinical psych. But when you go and get a doctorate, they don't count the masters you already have. So I had to go back and get another master's and then the doctorate. And then specialize in business. So there we are.
You know what? This is real exciting for me because a lot of the feedback we get is people saying you need to get some educated females on. You need to get some educated women on. We tired of the ratchet. So this should be good. This should be interesting. And you hit me up with some interesting topics.
Yes.
I kind of want to dive into that, starting it off, because that was, I ain't gonna say it caught me left field, but I kind of really didn't think about that angle. And, let's get into it.
All right.
Well, what you got for us right here?
So the first thing that I brought to your attention is the topic of toxic relationships and why men and women become addicted to toxic relationships. And relationships, I mean, it could be with a family member, it could be with a friend, it could be with someone that you're romantically involved, a spouse. So it's pretty versatile. Toxicity is something that is so subjective that I've learned with various people, various cultures. Everybody defines what they feel is poisonous to their life differently. And that's what toxicity is, something that is poisonous to your livelihood, something that gets you off balance, that doesn't elevate you, that tries to actually take you back to a negative part of yourself constantly on a daily basis. And so when you start to feel that you can't grow, that you're so stagnant with another human being, whether that's your mama, your daddy, your brother, your lover, your husband, your wife, whoever that is, you have to start to understand why. Why am I so addicted to these type of people? Because sometimes what a lot of us do, especially women, we will date the same guy with a different name 100 times.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
We
talk about that a lot.
It's crazy. I got a question real quick though. Do you feel like, how words tend to transcend with the meanings over time? Do you feel like this toxic movement, now they're trying to use it in a positive light?
I think they're trying to use it as a way to identify with a broader audience, to attract, more people, more followers, more. It's been a need. But when you can identify something specifically, it then attracts more people. So when you put a name to something, then they're like, oh, that's what that is. When he beat my ass, it's toxic. You didn't think it was toxic before. You just thought it was just illegal. You see what I'm saying? Like the terminology really means a lot to people because how you're raised and what your family has taught you, what you have seen in your own life, that's what resonates to a person. So when you put a simple name to something like toxic, instead of using terms like, oh, that person is narcissistic, or that person has like a bipolar disorder, or this person is mentally ill, no one can identify with that. They need to know exactly what does that look like in their daily lives. So when you put toxicity to something, everybody wants to hashtag it. Oh, me, that's been me forever. But what do you do with toxicity if you've identified with it? Do you just like open arms, like congratulate it and give it a hug? Or do you say, I need to do something about it? But how do you do something about something if you don't, recognize it's even a problem? And that's what's going on in our community, is that we think toxicity is cute.
Well, it's being marketed as a good thing for women, but a bad thing for men. Well, as far as like masculine, being masculine, they deem that as what they call it, toxic masculinity. It's a bad thing. But any other type of toxic behavior from the women community is kind of like, it's trendy. It's trend setting. And I think that's where the addiction comes from, is trendy. And like you said, we can hashtag this. It's almost like they're selling it to us as a culture, as a positive thing, as we self-destructing. And like you said, people are getting addicted to it. But from your point of view as a psychologist, mentally, according to your studies, why do people get addicted to that?
It is the reward system of dopamine. So dopamine is a natural chemical in the human brain. All human beings have dopamine, serotonin. There's 200 neurotransmitters. I'm not going to even go through all of that. But to make it simple, it is that good feeling chemical that makes you feel like you're on this natural high, right? And so dopamine is responsible for main things of learning and memory. So this is why, so I'm going to break it down. This is why dopamine is so critical when you are sexually active with other people. You think that you're in love with somebody because you're sharing this natural high, especially if the D is good, right? I'm gonna just put it out there. Let's just say you met Joe and whatever, and all of a sudden he put it down. You just, dopamine is to the levels. That's just like an addict with a drug, like a methamphetamine or opiate or whatever. It's temporary, but the high is so high, but you get it naturally through a sexual encounters. So when you do that, dopamine memorizes in your brain. So that's why addicts on regular, drugs, that's why you get addicted and wanting more and needing more. Same thing with human beings. When a human being provides you with that unmet need, which might be feeling of security, whatever it is, dopamine makes you feel secure, makes you feel like you're motivated, makes you feel that you can do anything in the world in that moment. That's why, Negroes will say something like some shit like I love you when they don't. In the middle of that encounter, it is because of the dopamine levels. And no one can get away from it. So that is why I say, women, protect your womb. Do not give that shit up until you know who you are dealing with.
They giving that shit away like hotcakes. Like, it's the thing to do. And with the dopamine, what people don't realize is it is a drug, really. Like, literally, it's like a drug. It's like as powerful as heroin, they say. Yeah. So you constantly chasing that new high. And I think that's where the toxicity kind of goes out of control, because it's like, all right, you done hit one level.
Right.
And now you're not getting that same hit no more. Now you're going to more extreme degrees to get that hit. And it's just the culture.
And what happens when somebody ghosts you?
Oh, my God.
You know what I mean? Like, you get that high, right? You get that level of dopamine. In that moment, he or she made you feel like invincible, like a Superman, Superwoman, whatever you want to label it. And then let's say that's why people start to call, like, they're not calling.
Call you 100 times in the fucking row. Exactly. They going through them withdrawals. It's like a smoker coming down off their high.
I'm serious. And I learned the hard way, because I never understood that either. Like, why are some people able just to let people go and they don't got to call nobody for a while? Because they probably got multiple outlets for their dopamine. You mean it doesn't have to be just people. You get dopamine from, I get dopamine from this. The creative outlet and sharing of minds is a dopamine effect here for myself. If you don't find healthy outlets to secrete dopamine, you will find yourself in that same rut of trying to be this fake ass city girl from that does not, it's not realistic.
Talk about it.
It's not real. They even trying to change. I want a husband now. I don't know what husband you're gonna get. You're gonna get you a city boy. That's what you're gonna get.
Please tell them again, because when we say this shit, oh my God. Hey, somebody hit the cheer. Hold on, let me cheer for that. Because when we say it, we are misogynistic. We don't like women. We got mommy issues and all type of shit. So I'm glad that we have an educated woman on here basically saying the same things we've been saying. And as far as the what was the word you just used? Not the dopamine, the serotonin.
The serotonin.
Yeah, you got to break that down, because when we say women sleeping around is a bad thing, because it'll make it harder to connect to a man due to the serotonin attaching you to every man that you sleep with.
Right.
They don't understand.
Yeah, no, all women say is that y'all don't like it when we do it. Well, because we like y'all now. That's the problem, though. They trying to be too much like men and thinking that is cool, but not knowing how much it's damaging themselves.
Right. So serotonin is produced primarily within women. When I say women, biological women. Okay. Serotonin is a chemical that helps with your mood. It is a reason why a lot of women become depressed, because when we don't secrete enough of serotonin, and this is how it's depleted. Let's give an example. Let's say you're a single mom. Let's say you're working 2 jobs. Let's say that you then got to take care of the household by yourself. You have no balance of your life. Serotonin is depleted significantly within those types of households and with those types of people. And when that happens, guess what? It's almost like a vampire needing that suck of blood for life. So they seek out somebody, usually women with a man, that they feel that they can suck the life out of them to support what they lack. If that makes sense.
I do make sense. That's deep, because I've seen women go and say that's what they do. Suck men dry or do certain things, and then low-key just leave them through like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. And they don't really understand why they're doing it. And that's why I think what attracted me to you guys' podcast is because I think it's so important to have a variety of perspectives to make sure that our community, our Black community, is represented on different levels of intellect, of sociability, economically, physically, spiritually, and that we come from every, realm of life, and that we understand what it is to be a single mom. I used to be one. I understand what it means to be homeless. I used to be one. I understand what it means to be abused. I used to be one. I understand those elements, but if you continue to embrace those elements as your identity, then that's the problem. But if we don't provide, and I hold myself accountable, if God provided me the outlet and the gift of what he's provided me, then I have the purpose of sharing exactly what I've been through, not to be the Jesus or Messiah for anybody, but to be that identification for somebody. And that's it. That's it.
Look, let me ask you a question, because this was a question I seen, and I was like, damn, this a good ass question. You being a psychologist and you dealing with the mind, the inner workings of the mind, I want you to break this down. So it's, as a parent, you disciplining your kid is out of love, right? Like, you correcting them and you showing them the right way, but you doing it out of love, even though it may hurt them at the moment.
Right.
But if a man, it was to discipline his wife, it would be considered abuse. What is the difference, or why is it a difference if he's doing it out of love? Like, if she's out of line and he, discipline her the way you would discipline a kid, why is one, this is just discipline, but this one is abuse?
Well, you have to understand that every woman is going to perceive what you said differently. They might, if they have not seen that in their own lives, if the only discipline that they've ever seen in their lives from a man is physical abuse, That's how they're interpreting what you're saying. Now, when you said it, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that I need him to keep me on check. Like when my husband brought me here, I need to make sure that if I'm doing something that is not in alignment with my own purpose and my goal, he knows what my purpose and my goals are because I made them very clear to him. That is his duty to make sure that I'm in alignment with that. I have already said, and I have communicated very clearly, this is what I want to do. I want to come here today, but I need you for this, this, and this. He made himself available, right? Despite whatever he had to do. But if I was out of line, if I came in here not prepared, he would tell me, like, why are you in here and you're not even prepared? You ain't got no notes, you ain't got nothing. He would tell me. And then I'm not going to sound be permanent. I might get an attitude like if I didn't wake up early enough in the morning, as in another example. You said you want to lose weight or you want to get better, back in shape. You didn't wake up. He called me this past week. He called me a PT, part-time. I said, part-time? What are you talking about? He said, you told me that you wanted to like get more muscles here and get this and get back how you used to be back in the day, but you PT. You still sleep at 8.
You playing with the game, yeah.
But he was there. And I was like, you know what? I said, can you stop calling anybody a fucking PT? Because he do it in front of everybody at the gym. She PT. I was like, all right, she PT. So discipline means something differently to me. It's something that I expect. And even though it might be uncomfortable, I know when something is not healthy, a healthy type of discipline.
So do you agree or disagree that it is in a man's right to discipline his wife when needed?
Of course.
Because I think we need to have a healthier description of discipline, because automatically, like you said, people are going to think about the worst possible case scenario or what they've been through personally as far as abuse goes. Like, you'll be a parent and your kid will be out of line and you'll yell at the kid, you'll spank the kid, but never in your mind do you think it's abuse. But a man raising his voice at a woman in 2023 is considered abuse. They will tell you a man lying to a woman is abuse, or you're gaslighting. Like, all of these made up fucking terms. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know. I think we need to draw the line there, because it's getting kind of, it's like becoming a wobbler where you can almost not communicate with your own wife out of fear of, damn, am I abusing her? Is she gonna say I'm abusing her? Like, I don't know. How you feel about that, Masai?
Man, as far as mental abuse, and I don't think yelling and things like that, that's naturally gonna happen. It just depends on how you look at relationships. Like I say, I look at them different. I look at them from spiritual standpoint. So usually when it's conflict or certain things going on, it's gonna be a breakthrough somewhere in there to where a point where y'all should better grow from that and learn why this is happening. It's not just arguments and things building up for no reason. It's something below the surface.
Right.
So I just think it depends on who you are as a person. You and your woman, y'all got to learn each other and know each other. A lot of people think they deal with women or men the same way as they did every relationship. So a lot of those things is different. Like she just said, her man could tell her certain things, but another woman might take that as being attacked in the gym. You know what I mean? When he like, oh, you this, you that, but he's trying to motivate her versus somebody else could take it, well, I'm gone. I ain't working out with you. Because they in their feelings about something by him telling her about herself or trying to sharpen her because he knows his wife.
That's right.
So
that's why you can't include everybody in your element. Because if you are clear about your vision and where you're trying to go in your own relationship, and I think that's what's lacking. When people can't be comfortable and be clear about where they want to go, what I want to do. Do I want to get married? Do I want to have children? People are so afraid to be real with each other. And that is like one of the biggest problems. If you're not clear about yourself and what you want for yourself, then how do you expect somebody else to be clear about you? A lot of people want people to be so clear and just like, consistent. But it's like when you ask yourself the same question, are you consistent? A man is the easiest easiest person, easiest human being. I'm gonna use the word train. He does exactly what you allow him to do. That's point blank bottom line. That is it. When I mean
Okay,
is
what you mean by that? Because you gotta break,
Yeah.
you gotta break that
When you
down.
say-
Because
when you
you
say
had it,
allow,
then you lost me with that
yeah.
allow. You're not allowing me
Yeah.
to do a damn thing. So you gotta break
No.
that down.
And when I mean, and it's something that I mean as offensive, I mean, just like if I say I don't want, it could be something simple as, I don't want someone sitting right next to me. Let's say someone comes sit next to me and I allow you to do it. Now my boundaries are really like flawed. You don't understand now. It's not clear. So when I say I don't want someone sitting right here next to me, if I decide to get up, I can't force somebody to leave next to me. So then if I'm disciplined and if I don't want someone sitting next to me, then I have to make the choice, and maybe if I'm uncomfortable, I have to get up and leave.
Are you speaking as a man or your man?
So no. So I'm speaking that just this as a metaphor. As a metaphor. Because sometimes we'll say things that we want, but then we'll accept what we don't want. That makes sense?
Yeah,
We'll
it
say,
do,
you
it
know
do
what I
make
mean?
sense. But then at the end of the day, I think a lot of women don't know what they want. And I believe that nothing's going to last if women are not accord with the man that they're dealing with. They keep trying to change the nature of men and thinking that, well, if a man makes himself clear about something, then they'll go in their mind like, well, I'm gonna create him like this. Eventually, over time,
Right.
I'm gonna get him to do this. Then when that man never becomes what they want, then that's the conflict or these things is coming in.
Right. And you
when
just proved my point, what I was just saying.
Yeah.
That's why I said men are so simple. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. Women, say what you mean what you say. He will follow what you say or do. Most men who are men, I'm not talking about little boys, I'm talking about men, they will not break, and that's the difference. That's a whole other topic. They will not break like your wall if you're not allowing the wall to collapse.
Okay, when you say men are simple, that would mean women are complicated?
Girls are complicated. Women aren't. When you are clear, when I mean by that, I separate the two to make it simple for everybody else in this world listening. Girls are still trying to figure out themselves, right? When you think of a girl, she's still going through development. She's still trying to understand herself mentally. What does she want out of life? Those kind of things. Now, when I say a woman, I say that she understands who she is. Even if that's not the greatest thing at the moment. Maybe she is not where she wants to be, but she's honest where she is.
Okay, see that's where we're gonna clash a little bit because I disagree. I believe women are complicated, and I believe when you talk about the masculine versus the feminine, and you're talking about men are simple or men are less complicated. It's like, yeah, men, we got a program, we get on our track, we got our purpose, and it's like we going straight. We on that track. We not trying to derail the train.
Right.
The feminine operates in chaos, which is why, in my opinion, I say women need guidance, because anytime women have no guidance or they're granted freedom or quote unquote liberated, they result to horrorism, self-destruction, financial catastrophe, and sexual promiscuity. It's like whenever a woman is granted freedom, if we just sit back and watch, they just self-destruct. And it's like, well, how can you say that? Just look at our community now. Women are the freest they've ever been, and they're the most out of control. They're the most...
It's like they lawless about themselves.
It's like the morals just don't exist no more. But if you compare it to the time where they were under the rule of men, they weren't like that. They were more in check. And it's like, I was on another podcast the other day. Shout out my boy 5 Stacks, by the way. Dude asked me, he was like, man, I just don't get it. Like, how do you deal with your woman when everything is going smooth and out of the blue, she just stirs up some shit like for no reason? It's like you come home, you just want peace, blah, blah, blah. And out the blue, she just finds anything to just stir up some shit. And I'm like, bro, that's when you got to understand when I say women operate in chaos, because like my bro was just telling me earlier, we was just talking about this earlier. Women to meet a good guy, everything perfect. Well, first thing they say, he's too perfect. It's boring. They want to go.
Nice.
Yeah, he's too nice. He's too nice. They want to go fuck with the bad guy, with the bad boys, because they like that chaos. It excites them.
They want the thrill. Yeah.
And men got to understand, it does not matter how perfect you are. It does not matter to women. You can have 30 years of being perfect. What did you do for me lately? They're not going to count that 30 years. They're going to look at today. They will find a problem today. Men know. We like, damn, she was a good woman for 30 years. She had an off day today. We're going to give you a pass. Women not giving you that pass. So when I say women are complicated and they like chaos, is you got to kind of understand how the feminine energy operates. But that breaks most men.
I think that a lot of times your experience, what you're exposed to, drives your perspective. And when a person's perspective is limited, it then starts to sound like every woman and her lack of ability to communicate is kind of boxed in. So what I mean by that is that not when you have a different entertainment of people around you and experience, when you start to travel, when you start to like move differently in life, and you start to be exposed more to outside of your environment really impacts how you see people. And I used to be limited in how I saw men as well because of where I grew up and what I saw. And I just kind of like started to label men and women and everybody just based upon my small circumference. And so when you start to dive into other elements of life and move differently, you start to really other cultures, other ethnicities, other, countries, other cities, you start to see that everybody is not like black and white. And when you start to really understand what that means that I must, as a woman, understand that not every man is going to understand my needs. So earlier when we were speaking about when I meant that men were simple, I didn't mean it in a negative way. I meant that they're simple where they just need clarity.
Men need peace.
Yes.
Men need something to eat. And men need to bust a nut and you to leave me the fuck alone.
And that is
simple.
Clarity.
And we happy.
And that is what clarity is. You just laid it out thin and clear as it. You see, it's clear. And when a woman doesn't know or feel comfortable within herself, which the other topic about self-confidence, when she's not as confident within herself and understand what she needs, then she will start to allow certain behaviors within another human being to infiltrate upon her. Then she'll start to accommodate and start to, make that person's identity a part of her own. Then she start to lose herself and then start making your home not peaceful. Then start to question every time you pick up a phone. Start to question every time you want to go out. I'm going to have a drink with my boys. Why? What you doing? You start to lose yourself when you don't know yourself. So that's why everything you said is absolutely true. But when you start to really understand the depths of a human being outside of your own environment, outside of your own self, it is a whole other level.
So do you believe women need guidance? Or do you believe women need to have the freedom that they have now? Do you believe like, you know what, things need to change and maybe we need to pull the gears back a little bit because it's out of control right now?
That's why I'm here. That's why we were talking about that over there.
So I think on another note too, it's not always all bad. So say like if you're dealing with a woman and you presented yourself to be a certain type of man and you might be dealing with her for X amount of months and you might go on a slope where the woman sees you lacking in certain areas. Mm-hmm. So now she might start to pick at those weak spots on you to make you stronger. So you can look at it as like nagging, but it's more so like to get you to be better, to be more reassurance that you are the man she thinks you is.
It's like a test.
So so now these tests keep coming up. And then as you either handle that test right or left, instead of her just telling you that you weak here, you this and that, she's poking at it so you can reflect on yourself to grow from that and then move forward. So these tests might not never stop. as you growing and evolving, if y'all are growing together. So I look at it from that standpoint too, but then it is something that just used to operate from chaos where they just automatically going off the deep end for some entertainment. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, and
it
there's
just
some men that
depends.
are not as aware and emotionally intelligent as you guys. It's a lot of men that are not aware of their role as being men, and that might surface because they didn't have that role model from the beginning, or a coach or anybody there to show them that, maybe you don't have 10 baby mamas and 10 kids across the world. I mean, you can become you can daddy, but can you actually be a father and be a part of someone's life? So that is something that is culturally sometimes what leads us into these conversations today. Something that makes complete sense to you guys or complete sense to me doesn't make any sense to someone else who has never seen it, never been taught it. Maybe all they've been taught is to get the bag, get the bitch, you spread the seed, and keep it going. That's a man to me. I got my bag, I got my bitches, I got my kids, I take care of them financially, whatever that looks like to them. And so if you get a woman or a girl, wherever she is on that continuum, and she doesn't, that's where I go back to men are simple. Whereas when a woman understands who she is and what she needs and what she lacks, men naturally are there as protectors. They want to provide. If
For
it's
sure.
it's like right now, I just met y'all, and I'm sure without a unreasonable doubt, if somebody came in and started to do some weird shit, I'm sure your natural instinct as men, not as boys, you will probably stand up and probably protect as a
Absolutely.
natural instinct. You know what I'm saying? It is only because I think that that I'm clear about what my role is. I know what I can and cannot do. I know that I need a man to do certain things. I know I'm physically not stronger than a man biologically, not because I just feel that I am. I know because of education and research, biologically, I am not.
Let me ask you this though, just to switch gears, not to interrupt you. What's your thoughts on feminism? How do you feel about feminism? How do you feel about the movement? Do you agree with the movement? Are you a part of the movement? Are you against the movement? Because in my opinion, I feel like that was one of the biggest reasons that our community, specifically the Black community, is in such a disarray right now, is getting women behind the feminism movement. Because a lot of women don't even know that was funded by the CIA.
Right.
Like if you tell people that, they're like, what the fuck you mean? Like, yeah, just do your research. Like that actual movement itself was funded by the government.
Which is most things.
And every time the government funds something like that, it's to, it's a bigger motive behind it. So I challenge people to do your research on that part of it.
Right.
But how do you feel about the movement itself?
I feel as though women need to understand and really be honest with themselves. I'm honest with myself. I know I need a man. I want a man and I need one. And not in the way that most people may interpret that. As you know, I'm educated. I can physically provide my basic needs, like that Maslow hierarchy of needs, like shelter, those, where I live, got water, running water, those kind of like basic needs. But I know above all of those basic needs that there is a certain level of love and connection that I cannot achieve without a man.
Right.
And this is the thing that women, I think, are getting lost. They think it's a weakness. They're starting to have this narrative, especially within our community, that Black community, that if you say you need a man, you're saying that somehow you're just weak-minded and that you're worthless, and that I don't know. It's the most ridiculous thing in the fucking world. But you're going to fuck all these other boys, trying to make them into men, and then you just become a 304.
Say it again.
And it may be unintentional, but you need to understand that it's okay to say when you need something. When you don't know that you need something, a lot of times when you ask somebody what you need, what do most people say? I'm good.
That's facts.
That's ego. People got to kill that ego.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm cool. I'm good. You're doing good and well. You over drowning with all kind of shit going on. But if somebody's actually like positively trying to intentionally asking you if you need something, it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary, compensation. It might just be something maybe you just need somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I think a lot of that depends where it comes from. You know what I mean? A lot of people at certain ages might have go through certain things where people use that against you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everybody ain't genuine no more where I could do something for you and I never speak on it. Or I might have forgot I even did it for you. Some people would do something just to throw it back in your face. You know what I mean? Or I did this for you, did that for you. And it's another form of control to a certain extent if that person is not genuine.
Right.
Because now you feel like you owe them something. Or I done
Right.
did all this for you and now I want something in return. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if we get rid of the feminism movement, our community will start to push forward as far as the relationship between men and women. Because right now it's just complete chaos. I mean, feminism has women believing that serving their man makes them a slave. Serving their family makes them a slave. But serving a boss and a company and being an employee is freedom.
Right.
Like that,
Right.
that's insane to me. It's like,
But it's programmed.
right? It's crazy.
But do you-
Like it's really insane to me.
And to get back to your point, you're right. But my mother taught me. She said, "You never give away something you're not willing to lose." And so, if I had to learn this the hard way, and it's still really hard for me to ask for help. It's something that I deal with. You can ask my husband on a daily basis. Even with him, I will try to access whatever resources I can. And I might just be just tired as fuck. And he'd be like, "Why didn't you just ask me?" I'm like, because, and it's ego, but then it's also like, I still in the back of my mind, like, well, I don't want you helping me in the back of my head. But then I'm like, my mother, it drills back. You never give something that you're not willing to lose. So if I'm okay with asking for what I need, even if that person feels a certain way, what they feel has nothing to do with me. That is the emotional intelligence masterclass of the fucking decade. When you can separate your feelings from somebody else's feelings. I can hate this table, and if you say you love it, I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean that something's wrong with me for hating that table. But that's where the gap is. And with the feminism, that is where the intellectual and the emotional intelligence is not there. Is that they can't separate the two. When you tell them by giving away your shit, your punani to 20, 30 different men is not going to lead you to maybe your husband, they're interpreting that something differently. They take it, people will take that so personally, even if it's the truth, because they don't know how to separate the two. And if you don't know how to separate the two, you will never grow into being what you want to be.
Okay, let me ask you this as far as education, because you said you have 5 degrees.
Oh, God.
Right? So women of today, they use that as like a stepping stool to look down on their counterparts or to look down on men. Like, hey, I got these degrees, blah, blah, blah. You don't qualify for me anymore. Even though everything a man looks for has nothing to do with a degree.
Right.
Now, in my personal opinion, I got my own opinion on education, but we won't dive too much into that. How do you feel about the women that have that stance? Like, you're less than or I deserve more simply because I decided to get educated. Even though it has nothing to do with anything a man looks for or, your core values, integrity, you know what I'm saying? Everything that makes you a good person, they just use this degree, that's it. I'm better than, I deserve everything because I decided to go to school. Like, where does that mindset come from? And how do you feel about it?
Well, lack thereof. I mean, I'm going to just keep it real. Degrees doesn't, make you better than anybody. Most successful people don't even have degrees. And I must say that after getting all the degrees and now all the fucking student debt, I probably wouldn't even go that route again.
Ooh.
But but how can I say, and this is where the two-edged sword comes into play. My intentions were different by going to school. So my intentions weren't to go to school for me to, look down on people. Some people do. They want to, I went to Harvard, I'm better than you, whatever that is. So my intentions were different. My intentions to go to school forward were to understand where I came from. And that's a whole different topic for a different story. I'm adopted. And so I wanted to understand biologically a lot of things that I was going through. And so I didn't have an outlet with regular people around me. So I saw education as my outlet.
Right.
So that was my intention with it. But a lot of the times people do mistake intelligence with education. I know a lot of dumb, smart people, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense.
I know a lot. And I know a lot of women and men that think that just because they go and get these master's degrees or doctorate degrees, automatically that puts them on this different level playing field. And it might on a superficial way, but if you haven't learned emotionally who you actually are and what your intentions are with the education you've gathered, I know what my intentions are when I gather the information. I want to share it. I want to hopefully inspire somebody out of some kind of, rut that I was in. Looking at that person who I was a few years ago, and looking at the person I am today, I never think I'd be sitting here talking about this today.
Right.
Ever in my life.
Yeah, that's deep, because my whole goal as far as Battle of the Sexes goes is to discuss the things that are going wrong, because you can't solve a problem without addressing a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Coming up with an equation to solve the problem to move forward. I mean, like a lot of the content now, they just feed off of it. Like, it's what sells. Like, hey, men and women clashing. Oh my God, men shitting on women or women shitting on men. They just want to see the clash. But I'm like, at the end of it, where's the solution? Like, where is this getting us? Like, okay, it's cool, we gonna clash, whatever, but where is the solution? So from your standpoint, what do you feel can be the solution to ending the gender war?
I think that there is no war. It is a mental game. I'm gonna speak from a woman's perspective. When a woman starts to decide that she wants to understand herself mentally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, when she starts to understand what she needs, clear vision of what her purpose is in this life, then she will be able to attract whatever else comes her way. Because women are the birth source. You know what I mean? We birth children, we birth life, we give life. And that is something I think that sometimes that we forget that we do. And when you acknowledge what we are meant and our roles are, you don't think about, you're not in a competition with a man. There is no way that I can compete with you, compete with that man, compete with my husband. There is no way. That is a never-ending a battle that is not even worth. I'm supposed to be his helpmate. I'm supposed to help him become the person that he's meant to be, because God has already ordained in him as well what I am, because I am the life source. When you really think about it from a spiritual connection, when a woman knows what she is destined to be, she'll know that I have what he needs, and what he brings to me can only enhance me. But if you don't know what you need, you don't know who you are, you have no idea where you're going, then you look for him to guide you with that. So
from my experience, I agree what you said about the spiritual connection. That's how I look at mostly everything in the light now. But from my experience and from what I see, even from when we do bring women on here, majority of the people do not see past the five senses.
Right.
They don't even understand nothing beyond the universal laws or your spirit being connected to anything that's everything around you in your life. So it's hard to even wake people up in that. So with those concepts, even when we break them down, they still don't get it. Like if you tell somebody, sit here and say, this is why this is happening, because internally you are bringing this to yourself, they don't want to hear that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They think like, well, I'm not the problem.
Right.
There's no accountability on that end. And I do think, even to an extent, that our women have a negative connotation on us, as far as if a white man approaches a black woman looking a certain way, and a black man might approach, say, just some flip flops and an old T-shirt or something. If the white man approaches, they're never going to just think immediately that this white man doesn't have money. But let a black man approach with that same fit on, they're automatically going to get away from me, nigga. You broke. Like, so it's going to be. I think that negative thinking is already placed on a black man if you're not up here or working on yourself internally. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and it's rare that, I believe, I gonna say everybody, but how many of our women do you see speaking life into black men, supporting black men in these ways? You know what I mean? Doing the things that they need. Like, and I wanted to ask you, do you think it's more strength in being submissive than actually going against your man?
I mean, when you talk about being submissive, you're talking about, for me, an element of my belief system and spirituality in God. He has to be a Godhead in order for me to submit. I'm not going to submit. I wouldn't submit to somebody who isn't led by God's wisdom, is not a wise person with their money or with their mental health. Or so you have to like be able to distinguish: is this my husband, or is this my life mate, or is this just? You can't just submit to anybody. So I want to distinguish those two. But if you're saying this is my life mate and or this is my spouse, then I feel as though being submissive is just a symptom of love.
See, but this is what I'm asking, because a lot of women think that, like you say, being submissive makes them weak. I think that being submissive that's more strength in a woman than being under a man's authority or being under a man's control, versus you want to run loose and do whatever. That's easy.
That's weak.
So exactly. So
Right. But most women,
That's
if
weak.
they're with a man, it's easy to be submissive to a man. I've never been around a real man that I wasn't willing to be submissive with. If his decisions are in alignment with a man decisions, if I know that he is in control of his emotions, and maybe I'm not in control. I used to be out of
Well,
control.
who would
So
define that? Though?
yeah. So where?
Because a woman can't define a man's decision. Men have to define men. A woman can't define that.
Right. No, I mean, like, as far as when you're deciding whether or not to be submissive, when you know that it's naturally an inclination for a woman, when a man has shown like the behaviors, his daily behaviors, maybe he's just a calm human being, especially within chaos. His decisions are pretty like consistent. He follows through. He says what he means, even if you don't like it. So that's what I mean about a woman being comfortable with falling naturally submissive to a man.
So it goes based off to like what we were saying earlier. A man can have all those qualities, but say the man doesn't make X amount of money as the woman does.
Money doesn't have nothing to do with submission.
Yeah,
It shouldn't.
but it shouldn't.
But
It
in today's society,
this is what I'm saying. Yeah,
This is what I'm
Doesn't-
saying.
a woman will automatically assume that if
A girl does.
okay, well you're right. Well, you can say that then. Yeah, you're right. Well, a girl,
Whoever
yeah.
sits next to her, the girl decides. Because I've been around plenty.
Talk
to
to
him.
him. Talk
That have
to him.
money,
Yeah.
and basically you just like, oh my God, like this shit is ridiculous. Like you wouldn't follow them to a fucking circus. Like really? Money, and that's where the narrative needs to change within this dynamic here. This is why, again, I'm so glad to be a part with you guys. Is to show that is not, we need to change the narrative. If you want to, nothing is wrong with making money. Money brings opportunities and options in this world, in this
Absolutely.
spiritual realm. But if you could find a partner who you have clear visions with, both of you guys are clear about where you want to go. And then that's where the discipline comes from him or from her. If he's going out spending too much, like, we're going to save $1,000 next month. It's no longer about, are you going out with your homeboys? You see how the reframing and reminding of the vision changes? I don't think you would get as mad if I said to you, Like, babe, I thought you going to how much you think you're gonna spend? I don't know, $300-$400. But I thought, babe, I thought next month we are gonna get that, trying to, save $500 for that property. Oh shit, you're right. But if I said, why are you going with your homeboys?
It's
Oh,
the
you
way
gonna
you
leave
word
me
it.
at home? Huh. Then it's all of a sudden then it's a battle of egos, battle of everything. But if you have a clear vision of where you two are trying to go and navigate, and a woman learns to know how to communicate, that's why I say men follow clarity. Clarity, not emotions. Men are not emotional. Men and women are wired differently, brain-wise.
Now, when
It's
you
a
say
scientific
clarity,
fact.
what you mean by clarity?
Clear.
Because now you saying follow a woman's clarity or clarity
No.
of life
No,
itself
clarity
or
if
his
you-
vision?
So if you are
If
talking
you
about,
speaking clear to me, like, yeah.
Because I'm gonna say this about submission, not to cut y'all off.
I don't know.
Because women always define, well, I will submit to this type of man, blah, blah, blah. And in my brain, automatically, it's like, that's one of those things that goes without saying, because it's like, if you're dealing with a man, you picked him. So there's no need to break down what you would submit to, because if he's not the man that meets those qualifications, why you dealing with him in the first place?
Facts.
There's really no need to break down, well, if he's will lead this way, do this, do that. Okay, cool. That goes without saying, because if you picked him, automatically, he should fit those qualities. If not, why are you even dealing with him? If you pick, you must submit. That's why when he was asking, like, a lot of women have a problem submitting. They're picking guys that they don't feel is worthy of submission. So why the fuck are you dealing with them in the first place?
Because you don't know yourself. I've been married
Bam.
August 27th. I'll be married 17 years. And he is not the man. If today I was to meet if who I am today, because I know who I am, would have met him 17 years ago, I'm sure we wouldn't have clashed. We would have clashed, and we never would have got together at all. And so it wasn't a perfect union, but it was only because it's an ongoing growth process. I'm telling you, there's nothing about marriage, nothing about a partnership that is remotely perfect. The only perfect part is understanding that you're not, and understanding what I need. So I've learned for me how to say what I need. It doesn't mean that he's automatically going to do it the way that I think that I want him to do it. But once I say it, as a man naturally who loves his woman, will try any way to supplement that. Because if I say this is what I need more, creativity in my life. He's not creative at all. We're completely opposite. If I say, like, coming here today, but I need you because I feel more comfortable with you coming here with me and I'm meeting people. Okay, I'll do that for you. You see what I'm saying? But that is a growth process. 17 years plus. That wasn't something that was just initially there, because as a young girl, still trying to figure out who I was and growing and going to school and understanding minds and what I needed, that's what sets you different. It's not about changing him. It's not about controlling him. It's not about the money. It really isn't. When people start to realize that, everything will fall naturally. It will. I can't even explain that even more clearly. No one, especially men, enjoys the peace of clarity. It's peaceful.
Yeah, when you talk about knowing yourself, I think like majority of people don't know themselves.
Right.
They
Right.
think they do.
So I think that's
Mhm.
where a lot of the problem stems from, is people are programmed. It used to be mainly through television and like newspapers and shit like that. But now it's with the social media, everybody's becoming the same person.
Right.
So you have no individuality with thinking.
Yeah.
So this is why when men are talking about problems on the dating market, or women are talking about problems on the dating market, and it all sounds the same,
Yeah.
it kind of cracks me up when people are like, well, you don't know all men and you don't know all women. But when you really look at it, everybody's being molded into the same fucking person, which is why I could talk to a man I never met in my life,
Right.
and he met the same bitch in a different body.
Right.
or you met the same man in a different body than she did, but they all damn near the same. Like they have the same thought process. It's society is losing the ability to think independently,
Mm-hmm.
and our community is taking a fucking cliff dive because of it.
Yeah.
So all of this shit that we discussing, I'm trying to put an end to the gender wars. They think I'm fueling it when they watch the content because girls get up here drunk, acting a goddamn fool with the traumas and going off on us. But we're really trying to have conversations that, hey, how do we end this shit
Right.
and be the example? So I'm trying to kill feminism. I'm trying to kill the egoism. I'm trying to kill the materialism because all of that shit is just destroying us. Like you said, you could be a man of character, blah, 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 but if she got degrees and make a little more money than you, she's not going to respect you. She's going to look down on you. Like you call them little girls, but I mean, these is full-blown women, 30, 40 years old with this fucking mindset.
I've learned
It's
too,
crazy.
like I seen that, I wish I could bring up the stat though, but they said majority of women minds don't go past the like age of like 14 or something like that. So
That's not true. So
See.
so the cells of the body. So the thing about I love this. I get aroused from the cellular activity of the brain. So it's called epigenetics. So you can increase the cells that you have by having different experiences in your life. So that's why I said it's important for people to get outside of their comfort zones, get outside of their environments, start to explore other areas of the world, other people, because you have different cell connectivities, and those connectivities increase your brain mass, which just means that the old stuff that was programmed, people are like, how do I reprogram myself? You got to do some things differently. You got to, if you never worked out, work out. If you've never eaten sushi, maybe go to a sushi bar. It could be something as simple as that. You don't got to go to Spain, Rome, or different places to experience a different culture, but you have to increase the amount of cells that you have. You have millions and millions of cells.
So let me ask you this. Do you think people on a daily are increasing their brain cells or decreasing them?
Of course they're increasing them, but what are they increasing them with?
See,
yeah, I would disagree.
So I'm gonna disagree because they had a study with these phones and stuff like that.
No, that's not
For-
accurate.
You don't think it's
Oh,
accurate?
come
Yeah, let me
on.
see.
Hey, look. Every
Hold on,
study
hold
she
on.
studied is
Yeah,
accurate.
let me see. Yeah, that's crazy. But
It's not accurate.
she didn't even let me finish
Hey,
talking.
hold on, let the
Get
dude
to
finish.
it.
Hold on.
I
Hey,
know.
look.
Nah, but
So-
go ahead.
Hold on, wait
So
a minute.
let me see. So
I didn't say that every
Hold on, let him.
connection-
Hold on, let him.
I'm not-
Hold
All
on,
right, all
hold on,
right.
because look, every study she quoted is accurate. As soon as it's
Yes.
something that
I
goes,
didn't-
Because I
It
am
ain't
sure
accurate.
that, no, I'm
Let me
telling
find
you,
this,
based on this research of the Journal of Psychology or the Journal of
hold on, he didn't even get the full
Don't
point.
go-
Are you like,
can't-
no, it ain't
can't
accurate?
be Google.
this ain't
Why?
Google.
Why it can't be Google?
You know
it could be a book, but not
No.
Google.
No, Google. You can put your own information on Google. You know that, right?
Right, but somebody could put their own information
Well-
in the book.
No, exactly. But I'm not talking about a book. I'm talking about journals, research that has to be peer reviewed and go through a different level of So no, it's different.
But I'm saying Google the same thing.
No.
No, I'm not saying any random
No.
article. I mean, the same way you
But it's
cross-reference
okay.
a book,
But
you can
are
cross-reference
okay
an article.
with understanding that is not correct.
No, can you just think that maybe you didn't know it's something that you didn't know?
Of course, but epigenetics, I'm telling you, just because something is not positive doesn't mean you don't make a new connection. So you're making a whole, let's say all of a sudden now I go Saudi Arabia and then they at war and I make these whole new connections. Now all of a sudden I want to be a killer and I want to do all kind of weird shit. I have acquired millions of other cells based on those new connections. And I'm not judging the connections. I'm not saying that every connection that you make is positive. I'm saying that he asked a question about them dying and then can they be...
Because I was leading up to what I was about to say.
Nope, that ain't correct.
Yeah,
It wasn't in the book.
So like I say, so
Like, whoa, wait a minute.
the average
Everything ain't in the fucking book.
You did.
Go ahead, get your shit off.
Even
man.
then, the average person, what are they doing to even increase them? You ain't just waking up and your brain is increasing because people not even using their brains. So not and using it. Let me say constructively. They're not constructively thinking in a certain way. So 9 times out of 10, they're recycling the same thoughts every day and recycling these same experiences. But what I was getting at is that they did a study.
Who
And
did?
let me get to it. Look, so basically people are addicted to distractions. And according to a study, you addicted about 80% of your day. So every time you respond to a new impulse or a new distraction, you burn up part of your brain energy. At the end of a typical day, a person's IQ has decreased about 10 points. So basically, you becoming stupider throughout the day by being on your phone, equivalent to what? A college level to a truck driver intelligence type. So scientific articles on this that stimulates your mind so much that what happens, it triggers dopamine. You get addicted to it. Dopamine has the same effect as cocaine on the brain. It gets to the point you can't shake it, to the point where 9 times out of 10, even if you're walking outside, what do you see all day? People on their phones, right? People can't even sleep or wake up without being on their phones. You can't just put your phone down and do consistent work without checking messages or doing certain things. So in reality, the brain is being programmed off these phones and it's killing off their brain cells.
Okay, so it doesn't kill off the cells. It just multiplies the negativity, what you've already been programmed to be exposed to. That's what I'm saying.
So are you becoming smarter, or what is going on?
I didn't say you become smart. I'm just saying smart in what you already know. So all I'm saying is that when you have new connections, that means experience, whether you think they're good or they're bad. I'm not judging those. I'm saying you cannot kill those off and make them better unless you are exposing your cells to something on a different level, something that's completely different what you're thinking, but you can't kill them. You only make what you already have stronger.
I think go ahead.
So let me ask
like
you this.
feeding a beast.
So let me ask you this. So if they say it's equivalent to doing cocaine, so a person,
Yes.
so let me say, so if a person is doing cocaine every day, what do we say about people that's off coke? Eventually, over time, his mind is gone, right? They're killing off their brain. So you think so? It's not killing off their brain cells when they do cocaine.
Cocaine is different than the thoughts that you have.
This is what I'm saying. But the brain.
You didn't say that.
No, I said it's equivalent.
They
said
dopamine is equivalent to like cocaine.
to doing cocaine.
Child. It doesn't have the same intensity or the same long-term effects as cocaine has on the human brain. Your thoughts and the experience you have with another human being does secrete dopamine. But the levels, that's why people get addicted to those kind of like man-made drugs at a higher level and faster, because they give you a quicker rush.
So how can you say those dopamines earlier of women having sex and chasing these highs as just like an addiction, if that's not the same thing?
No, I use it as a metaphoric. So it's like. I didn't
the metaphor
say
is like a comparison, right?
But look, I
think
when he's saying you're killing off your brain cells, you're taking it to a literal degree, as in a brain cell is eliminated from your brain.
No.
No. Because look, because he asked you, he said, do you think people are getting smarter or basically dumber every day? He was like, smarter to a degree. And he was like, no, they're addicted to distractions where if you're not feeding your brain new information, you're not learning new things, you aren't getting any smarter. Most people live on a hamster wheel. They do the same thing every day. They consume the same information every day. They don't read. They don't do anything to enhance their IQ level or their smartness or learning anything. You ask the person, what's the last book you read? They're gonna tell you The Shade Room or Instagram. It's like they acquired no new information. So how are you getting smarter?
Yeah, it's like
you know what I'm saying?
You're feeding a beast. That's what I'm saying. If you are feeding yourself the same information, you're not killing the cells, you are making them stronger. If you are listening to a certain type of music and then you keep doing it every single day, you're not killing it off. You are enhancing that emotion.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not saying literally. So let me say this thing. So
it's like it's like a saying.
No,
like you killing your brain.
I'm just saying. Yeah. So say.
Okay. So see how I interpreted it as actually I thought you were saying like
not in the literal.
So
sense.
let me say. So say if your brain is like soil and we planting seeds, like he said, if you're not putting new information. Them seeds that's sprouting become weed seeds.
Yes.
So now it's tearing up the garden of the soil in your brain. Yes. Versus if you planting good stuff, good energy, then the fruitful seeds is growing and your mind is expanding.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, okay. Okay. So all of that just to agree. See, that's women.
agree.
That's the chaos I'm talking. That's the fucking chaos I was talking about earlier, right?
No.
We went all around that whole loop, and she said, "Oh yeah, I agree."
When you said
Come
killing,
on.
I actually thought you meant that the cells were decreasing, like the literal sense of decreasing. That was what I was talking about. I didn't think
The chaos.
I'm clear.
See, I messed up
So,
not bringing up that. I should have
I'm
brought the whole
clear.
thing.
No, but she,
so
but,
she could
nah,
have
'cause she
I'm
killed
clear.
your shit off before you even said it. Like, nope, didn't want it in the book.
It wasn't clear.
Well, whatever you found ain't true. But everything I got is for real.
No, because you see,
That's crazy.
hey, you see how things can misinterpret it. See how I was just black and white.
Nah, that's funny. Though.
My
I'm
bad.
gonna tell you one
That's
thing.
funny.
I thought I had better sense. Sorry.
Because
you
I'm gonna
good.
tell you one thing.
I apologize.
No, you good.
I'm gonna tell you one thing that I noticed about a lot of us as people and what I started doing. I started listening to learn. And when I listen to learn, I learn to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of things that we deal with. It's like we already got that reaction. We ready to say something before without even getting the point across. You know what I mean? So that's what I believe people should do.
Okay, see, but I feel you.
But you took a phone and was giving
Hold
me
on.
research. So it wasn't your thought. You was giving me something based on research. So when you said it,
Everything is
research,
based on research.
You know.
Your degrees
Nah, but if
and
I'd
the
have just-
knowledge you acquired are based on research.
Yeah, but if I would have just told
human
you,
research.
so if I would have just told you, and then you'd be like, okay, how you know this? Because that's what I'm asking anybody. If I
Okay,
don't believe it's true,
See, that's
where do you know? Where did you acquire this information? Then that becomes a fact. But before, other than that, it's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that we got lost in translations because I really concretely understood killing off as gone, like no more cells. The cells are decreasing, and which can happen from drug abuse, from actual smoking the crack, smoking the coke. So that's what happens. That's why you have a lot of people that end up,
See
not
that's
cognitively. So that's why scientifically, when you said that, I was on a
you took it to a literal sense where he was
I
just more
did.
saying like
yeah,
people are not getting smarter daily.
exactly.
The average human is not. The average human is getting actually dumber with the phone.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
pretty much what he was saying.
Yes.
And the studies that they ran was showing like, hey, people's IQ are going down as they utilize the phone more than before we had the phone. But that right there is my problem with school and education, because education is, in my opinion, is the domestication of a human. They've literally, you won't even take information if it didn't come from a book or
It's not true.
well, you just told him like, no,
Evidence.
you can't look up anything. I know, but you didn't even give him a chance
because
to
it wasn't
even.
evidence.
I know, but how do you know? But you didn't even give him a chance to get it out, and you was like, "That's Google. It's wrong. Nope, you can't cross-cite it like you could do in the book and blah blah blah."
Evidence.
It's you kind of shut it down before he even gave any type of evidence at all.
He didn't give evidence. That
No,
was
I didn't even finish speaking.
That was a personal opinion.
It wasn't. I was getting to the point, and then when I was getting to the point, I was going to read you the facts where I got it from. But before I even got to that
You
point,
already had shut it down.
Yeah,
right,
like,
but
you
they're
let me
not
cross that
facts, they're
bridge.
opinions.
Okay,
These is facts that they did study.
Those
Oh.
are opinions.
Okay, so facts,
you can
facts
write-
are facts are just things that we agree on.
So
So,
the
what
things,
would
so
make
the things
a
you got out
fact
the
a
book.
fact?
So the things you got out of the book is just an opinion, right?
No, so when you talk about books, I'm not talking about just going to Barnes and Noble and reading some books on people who never actually researched human beings for years and years and studied certain types of whatever it is, behaviors, certain things. But as far as research is concerned about the brain and the cells, when he said that, it clicked for me because that was an opinion of whoever wrote that article. I thought what he was talking about when he said kill.
I know. We
You know
already
what I mean?
we already clarified that, but
Kill.
this is my problem with
Okay.
educated people is
That has nothing to do with that. He used the wrong terminology.
no, what I'm saying is you will take things that you read out of a college book as a fact when those are indeed opinions
And
as
I
well.
can say the same about people who are not educated. They take things out of Google and think that is fact as well.
No, he was just saying that they ran
Yeah.
a study. He wasn't saying
Yeah.
it was actually factual.
That wasn't a
or
study. That was
non-factual.
actually based on their subjective opinion.
right.
I wasn't from Google though. Why she think?
No, but this is what I'm saying. She said that you got the information basically from somebody else, right? That's all school is.
Every information
You go to
somebody
school.
else.
Okay.
All information is passed down over time. We didn't come out of the womb knowing everything that we knew, right? You went to school to learn from another person that read out of a book that was written by another person.
No.
Yes.
I'm talking about research on human.
Okay, anything that you researched came from
somebody
another
else.
person.
Everything you learned was from
So
somebody else.
you just denounced
And peer
his research.
review.
No, it doesn't matter peer
You know
review
what
or
peer-
not. It was
Oh,
other people
you know what?
peer reviewing. That's
I-
what I'm saying.
We just agree to disagree.
Right.
How about that?
No, we could agree to disagree, but this is just for the people that's
Yeah.
watching, because I don't want people to hear that and be like, oh, well, yeah, that's right. If it wasn't peer reviewed by other people, it's not a fact, because really it's just
That's
opinions
not
that
what
we all
peer
agree
review
on.
is, though.
Like
but you're doing the
No,
thing.
but it's the same thing.
But she's doing the thing like, well, this is a professional I went to, so
Right.
it got to be this or that. That's basically the same thing, because you
look,
saying,
look,
you saying-
let me give an
she's
example.
saying she acquired her
It's like going to
information.
get surgery from somebody who's not licensed to do surgery.
I can't. That's
Yeah,
not
but
the same
that's
thing.
not the same thing,
So
because
you read about how to do surgery versus somebody who is actually,
I get the
Correct.
same example.
hold on.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were ready
doing,
to do
hold on.
surgery.
Surgery
Hold on.
existed
would
before.
you go to someone who Googled up an article about surgery, or would you go to someone who actually has done the surgery and on multiple people? And who would you feel more comfortable? That's a question. More comfortable with laying on the table with?
Doesn't matter if they if they both
different.
have done the action, then that's a different story. If this person has done the action without school, I don't need that. The same thing I said. Dr. Sebi didn't go get all these degrees, but he's been
Why are you
known
bringing Dr. Sebi in?
because he's been known to cure more things than a lot of these doctors are doing,
According to who?
according to people that backed him up on his studies and his
Okay,
research.
look, this is the only thing I say about education, right? You become brainwashed to the system that you are a part of. Yeah, you learn things and this and that, but it puts you in a box, in my opinion. You become domesticated to where, like, she's even fighting against the fact that, or what you said was an opinion,
That
but
wasn't a
because
fact.
this was peer reviewed by some other people, that makes it a fact. Like, if I ask the average person, is this a table? Would that be a fact?
It is a table.
Right. Why is it a table? Because we agree to call it a table. So that's not a fact.
So if 1 million people to be peer reviewed,
Right. But
so let me explain.
this is how I'm showing you that's not a fact.
So
Because
do
we
you
just
know what a
agree.
peer review is?
No, but listen. You just said that's a fact, that's a table. That's not a fact. That's an opinion that we all agreed on. We
Yeah.
all said, hey, we're going to call this a table.
But in order to consider it a peer review, then there would be 1 million other people.
Right.
Million other people
Yes,
that
yes,
would
million other
agree
people.
that this was a table.
Correct.
And not only just that, it will go through different trials.
Okay, cool. All of
And
that.
then another million
Right.
years.
Yep.
It'll get videoed.
Absolutely.
And documented.
Absolutely.
So that is what peer review is. It's not
Okay,
just
I'm
somebody
with you.
Saying that.
Listen,
You know
I'm
what
with
I
you
mean?
there. That's still not a fact. It only a fact because we agree.
So are we
could have
sitting here right now a fact?
We could have easily called this a car.
Mm-hmm.
If 1 million people agreed it was a car, then they got peer reviewed 1 million, this would have been a car. So it's not a fact.
So what-
the only thing that's a fact is it exists. But what we call it, that's not a fact. That's what I'm trying
Are
to
we
get.
human?
We agree. We don't.
Is that a fact?
We could have been anything. We could have called ourselves anything.
So,
But the
would you
only fact is
say
we
that we are
agree.
human.
I'm saying we agree.
and we more spiritual beings.
I didn't say that.
But
I said, are we human?
We're more spiritual beings having a human experience.
Okay, this is the only thing I'm getting
I don't
because
want to get distracted.
no,
from
we
what
don't
we're
want to
talking
get
about.
distracted. I just like that you went into that debate because what you were saying, as you were saying, what he said wasn't factual. You were also what you were saying wasn't factual. Just because it was peer reviewed and this and that, it doesn't
But
necessarily.
she don't even know what I read was peer reviewed or not. She
It's
just
on Google.
But that wasn't Google I had it from. This is what I just told you. But you made an assumption.
I was just kidding. Calm down. Calm your ass down.
We not called
She
that.
wasn't- hey,
Hey, look, we
but
not
when she
called
get
that.
real than this, I'm just playing.
Yeah, I
But
know.
it's never. You
I
wasn't
know.
playing because you didn't even let me talk.
People.
Yeah.
Because when you say, you're killing off brain cells, you can't kill off brain cells by those certain
I said it
thoughts.
decreases
She's
brain
still
cells.
stuck on the kill. Look,
And I
people.
said decrease. She
I
put
know.
kill.
Look, I
You
know.
said
Hey, look,
kill.
hold on. She's trying to catch you in the trick bag. People, understand. I don't care how much it was peer reviewed
Okay.
and 1 million peer. It's still an agreement. The world works on agreements. We call all. This is a laptop because we agreed to call it a laptop. It easily could have been called a tree, and it would have been called a tree if we all agreed to it. Money is valued what is valued because we agree. It costs more money to make the material of a penny than it does a $100 bill. But we agree that the $100 bill is worth more than the copper penny. This is paper, this is copper. We agree. So it's right, but based on agreements, we agree. Right. So that's what makes it a fact. So just because it was peer reviewed in a book, and it's a fact in the school system, it doesn't make it a fact. And if you find information outside of a book, outside of the source of education,
your brain,
it can still be a fact. It can still be true. It does not have to come from school, is all I'm saying. Don't limit yourself to the box of if it didn't come from school.
Research comes from brain matter, like researching the brain and how visually like the brain changes based on the things you're exposed to, the certain things that light up, the certain things like how when you are ingesting the drugs, how certain things die, actually physically die.
But are you in there doing that brain work? Or
I would love to.
This is what I'm saying.
You got
you're
that
learning
from someone else.
The credibility of other MDs, yeah.
It doesn't matter though, but you're not you don't know this for a fact.
I do know it for a fact.
You know for what somebody's taught you.
Listen, the only reason I'm going over this is because I don't like when people discredit others people's research or what they've learned through their experiences or what they study, because you may not have studied it does not make it incorrect.
But you cannot
hold on.
False information.
Hold on. We're not giving false information.
You're killing off cells.
We're not giving false information.
So you can't decrease. So your cells can't decrease.
They can, but not by what you said.
Why not?
You only enhance. You were talking about an element of if I keep doing the same thing, if I keep talking about or exposing myself to the same thing.
Look, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. She's trying to get you in the trick bag with the kill.
I know.
Because she keep going back to the kill, and we already agreed. Look, we already agreed he did not mean literally.
No, but he said what he said.
Right, but we already agreed.
People get smarter every day. I said their brain decreases.
She trying to catch you in the trick bag. Don't fall for it. That's the chaos. That's the chaos of the feminine. I know how to deal with it. It's cool. She trying to catch him in the trick bag because she keep going back to the kill.
That's the chaos of a doctor. Not the feminine.
But look, she even used surgery as an example. Our ancestors were doing brain surgery with no fucking anesthesia, no nothing. This is on film before school. So just because it was in school,
Google peer review
does not mean it's not a fact. I'm gonna just say that. She caught in the matrix.
Yeah. She capped. That school in Torah.
Yeah, I know. She in the matrix now. Okay, look, let's move along. She thought she had you, but
I know. I thought I did.
She thought she had you. Okay, answer me this, because I want to know this. Men, when we earn money, it's with the thought of giving. So like you get it, like you're a husband. He goes, earns a lot of money. It's with the thought of my wife, my kids, my family.
Right.
Women earn a lot of money. It's with the thought of now I can replace this man. I don't need him. They don't have the same, where does that come from? Because you study brains and things like that. So I want to know during your studies.
That comes from where you are, how you're raised. That's not how I think about it. I've always been the breadwinner in our relationship, the primary. And if he was sitting here, I'd say it as well. He recently, because of his change in what he does, now he is. But I've been trying to get him to be the motherfucking breadwinner for a long time, but he wasn't there mentally. So no, that comes from, I come from a single mother from Mississippi that owned her own business. She used to pick cotton. She used to work as a maid for white folks in Mississippi, Aberdeen, Mississippi. And so I was adopted at birth, and she was a 46, 47-year age difference. And to make this little story short, how you're raised and what you see on a daily, your upbringing determines usually a 50, 60% of your choices that you make, how you see people, how you see men, how you value them, how you don't value them. And my mother never valued men. I'm going to be quite honest. She was independent. My adoptive father died when I was 4. She was the one that I saw as the matriarch and the patriarch of the family.
So what made you be different?
I had to be different. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, because me listening to everything you just said, you were an example of the total opposite of what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, despite the upbringing, despite
Mhm.
everything you saw,
Yep.
despite this, despite that,
Yep.
you turned out the total opposite according to you. So
Yes.
that's why I'm
It's-
kind of like, okay, where did that come from?
It's in my book coming up, Seed of a Strawberry, coming out soon.
So, but how is what you're saying making sense? If you're saying if people are accustomed of how they brought up and became this way because of what they seen, and you didn't see that, where did you transfer to get up out of that programming?
There's always a part of you genetically, DNA. You can't escape your DNA. Have you ever met somebody who had never met their father or never met their mother, but maybe you know their daddy and they walk just like their daddy, or they may talk just like their daddy or uncle? You're like, damn, he sounds just like Uncle Cal. Like, he ain't never met him before. So DNA has, this is research, but it's like a, they
Where
say it's
from?
a,
Where-
they
where?
say it's like a 50-50 that
Peer
everything
review?
is environmental and just genetic. I ain't gonna get
Is this
stuck.
Google or a book?
Yeah, it's
No.
for sure.
I'm just fucking with you. Go
No.
ahead.
Yeah, funny.
Nah, go ahead. I'll just fucking
But
with you.
so to answer your question, a lot of it also, you cannot dismiss the factors of genetics. You just can't.
I'm saying, but where did you?
I know,
how
he's
where did
saying to
you-
break
where
it
did you
down,
go
simplify
different?
it.
Like, at what point did you realize, like, okay, I'm not gonna go this way. I'm gonna go this way.
For the women that are watching, like, I had this upbringing where my mom didn't value men, and my mom taught me this, and my environment taught me this, but aspire to be the opposite like you did. I'm saying simplify that for them. Like, how were you able to accomplish that despite everything being, the odds being against you, turning out the way you turned out?
Yeah. When I was getting my ass beat by my oldest son's biological father, when I became pregnant with my oldest son, that was my turning point for me. If I'm gonna be quite honest, and it's in my book as well. He broke me mentally. He broke me financially. I had an education. I went to SC. I had jobs, everything. But whatever I was going through back there, psychologically and mentally, I wasn't ready for what he was. I thought, I was enticed by the fast money back then. I was enticed by the man that had the jewels and the exterior. So my opinion not only comes from the research, it comes from the research of myself within, because I could be honest that those things attracted me because those are things I thought I needed to feel fulfilled. Whatever that was back then. I know what those are now today, but I didn't know what it was back then.
So
my breaking point was when I was broke, when I felt broken.
So rock
I'm
bottom.
not. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying your
That's what
breaking
we asking.
point. Yeah, like,
That was it.
so that made you become a better woman going through worse shit.
When I was pregnant with my son, because sometimes a person can't do for themselves what they can do for somebody else. I don't know if you ever felt that, or when you can ingest and do all kind of weird shit for yourself, but then if you gave the same type of poisonous shit to your kid, you can't even imagine giving that to them. And I must say that was my authentic breaking point, was when I found I was pregnant with him. I did not want him, and I didn't know he was a him then, but him to endure what I was enduring.
So what did you do though? Like, what steps? Like, for women that's, like you say, they brought up
That
without-
don't want to hit
that-
rock bottom.
Yeah, that they don't have a father. They grew up a certain way, seeing certain things. What do they do to get out of that mindset? Like you say, it's a lot of toxic relationships, a lot of these things going on. So what do they do to not go to that wall or have to go through all that to get to that point?
It's back to what we talked about an hour ago. You have to learn to understand who you are and what that means. What are your weaknesses? If you're an alcoholic, you shouldn't be at the bars every day. You're not going to be able to deal with all the liquor around you. If you are somebody who thinks that they need validation from a bunch of men, you probably shouldn't be at the club every weekend with your homegirl that might be able to handle all of that. But your environment and the people that you surround yourself around is probably about 80% of it. The other one is, for me, my faith in God. That's for me. That is what helped me keep my foundation. But then that was what helped me up when I couldn't, hold myself up. But if I could tell anyone else today, I would say you need to find out who God is. You need to find out who yourself is before you start going into these multiple relationships with other people. Because if you don't know, they will try to tell you who you are. And that's where a lot of us get lost. We start to think that that's what I need. Yeah, that looks good. That sounds good.
Okay, so what I get out of this is you actually were living
Like the city girl.
like that,
Yeah.
and then you hit rock bottom, and then you got pregnant, and you was like, you know what? I got to change because of my situation now changed. But prior to that, you were succumbing to those circumstances, what it sound like, and
And
then
prior to that, I
the
was
switch went off.
actually,
Or did you get older and just like it was
No,
late for
right.
that?
prior
Yeah.
to that, I was actually like a nerd. Straight from high school, I always had great grades. Went to USC, graduated. My mother always raised me in this very confined and very strict environment. And so I'm not blaming her, God rest her soul, but I think her protection became almost like this realm for me I was just so naive to a lot. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know and you haven't experienced a lot, she tried to protect me from so much that when things came up, even though that's why I say there's a lot of smart, dumb people in the world. It's just like now I tell my kids, don't take a backpack from somebody you don't know. Don't walk through the airport or do this, and they might have something in it.
So
So-
your change was when you got with your husband. Now, when were you pregnant?
Hell no.
Okay.
No.
Now,
That's what I'm getting at.
because you said you used to go after the men with the money. You went after these things.
No.
So it's like-
it was. I'm saying that the guy that was my oldest son's bio, it was him. No, I only had him. That was it. I didn't go. So when you say city girls, I might have no. It was just him, but it was without getting in depth with it because I will not give that story too much satisfaction. What I learned about myself was that what I thought I needed and I thought I was getting from him was his way of controlling me, if that makes sense.
No, I'm only asking because I'm trying to connect the dots for the women that's watching that may be in that position now, and they like hearing you say, "Well, it switched when I hit rock bottom," and they thinking in their mind, "I don't want to hit rock bottom. I want to have the tools to change now. I just don't know
Right.
the steps to take."
Or even if they at rock bottom, how did you climb up out of that? Because a lot of people we see stay in situations where they know like, well, I should have been left. You know what I mean? Or stuff like that. So
And they feel like they can't. Like a lot of women that we speak with is, yeah, I knew it was fucked up. Yeah, I knew it was toxic. Yeah, I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't leave. And I'm like, what do you mean you couldn't leave?
Right.
You always have a choice. They say I didn't have a choice.
Right.
And I'm like, you always have a choice, but the problem with the choice is the results of your choice. I think they don't want to deal with the difficulty of that. They're like, I'll put up with this little bullshit because other assets of this situation may be smoother than that over there, and I got to pick myself up out of rock bottom from over there. So they just stay. So what is your advice to them?
To be quite honest, for me, prayer. I prayed. I remember that day I was on the floor and I wanted to die. I remember that day. It was a linoleum floor in this apartment that he got for me that he knew I couldn't afford. And it was a bottle of Tylenol, and I took all the pills, and I wanted to die. This is right before I found out I was pregnant. I didn't even know I was pregnant. At the time, I was pregnant. I didn't even know. And I'm like, I took them, and I wanted to die. And I think that no matter what, I didn't feel that there was, when you get, it's like that dopamine, when you don't have that serotonin and dopamine, if I can explain it to you in a simple matter, when you get to a dark space, when you're that depressed, there is no logic that can climb you out of that space. That's when only thing that you seek is something outside of yourself. And if I had to answer you the most authentic It might sound just cliche, but God. Only way I got out of it was God. Only thing I am sitting here next to you is because of him.
Okay.
I
Okay. Let me stop you right there. Now, when you say prayer, after that, then what? Because prayer without action is dead. So
right.
I kind of I don't like to spread that message alone because that gives false hope to people. Like, oh, all I gotta do is pray. That's it, and I'm gonna be out the situation. Cool. I'm just pray, and then the situation never changed. So it's like, what actions did you take with the prayer?
With the prayer, I left.
Okay, so you took the action to actually go.
I went.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to.
But I was scared. I went. When you reach your rock bottom, and then I've already had a spiritual connection to God. I never was raised in the church. My mother she was always a prayerful woman, but never took me to church. That was something that just wasn't her. So that's just my own experience. But so when you ask me how did and then what I tell somebody else,
right?
You need to, when I say you need to know who you are and who God is and what the power that he has within you. Right. And I did that. But I'm not going to tell you it was an easy journey. I had to sleep. Lord have mercy. I left, look, the finer things. But I'm telling you, when I found out when I was pregnant with my son, no longer did I worry about having Louis, having whatever it was he was providing on a superficial level. It was more so, I cannot expose him to this. And I was willing to go to a shelter. I called shelters, and I finally called my sister. I reached out and took my ego to the side. So if you want to know, if you have anyone out there, even if it's a friend or anyone, a pastor, I even reached out to them, you need to set your ego to the side if you're in that situation. Because if you pray about it, you're right. You need to do something about it. Sometimes you don't know what you need to do. So when you pray about it, then that's when you need to relinquish, like, I need help. You have to tell someone you need help.
How you feel about this? This is how I honestly feel. I feel women don't have any success, or women cannot attain success without being attached to a man. Like, even with your situation that you just described, it felt like once you met your husband, everything like came together for you. Because prior to that, it sounded like everything was rocky. And then it's like, okay, once y'all got together, life kind of really formed for you.
No.
That's what it sounds like. Cause I'm trying to connect the dots on where you actually started to elevate. It's like, if a woman isn't attached to a man from school to work to basically any type of success that they gain, there's no success there. Like, I don't see women putting women on, but it's always women saying, well, men ain't shit. And I'm like, how are men not shit when they give you the success you have? You only have success by attaching yourself to a man.
A man has never given me my success. And I'll never say that a man or a woman or an individual is the reason why that I've achieved certain things. Now, have I get support? Yes.
Were any of your teachers men?
Of course, some men are. So the thing of it is,
okay, when I say it, it can be. See, I think women, when they hear this, they only think directly.
Amen.
It can be indirectly as well.
You mentioned the husband, and I'm thinking like, I met my husband when I was actually pregnant with my son. So that's a whole other story. We dated when I was pregnant.
But he's saying women can say fuck men, but the world revolves around men.
Like,
but I've never said that, so I don't.
No. See, look, don't personalize when we speak.
Mm-hmm.
We speaking just in general, like as far as the dating market and like how you said, peer reviews. We ask 1 million people. So overall, women's overall mindset right now is fuck men. I don't need men. Men ain't shit. So with you not having that mindset, I want your opinions on when I'm asking these questions. So don't too much internalize it like personally, like, well, me, I don't think that way. We just thinking like, okay, the women that do. So from a woman that doesn't, let them hear how, your mind works towards
I'm pretty concrete. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now I get what you're saying. But typically when women do say that, that's just a defense. It's a protective mechanism.
Right.
That usually if they say, need a man, fuck a man, what, that is because they actually want a man to be supportive. Maybe they don't have it and that's what they want. So what do we usually do as most human beings do? If we can't get it, we either reject it first, so we don't feel like as though then we have anything to lose, or we don't have to feel that rejection from not having it. You know what I'm saying? So usually when someone usually says, "Oh, fuck a man," they usually do want one, but they don't know how to express that they do. Because when they do and they don't get it, they got to sit with that.
Well, I just mean on as far as the success part. Like, do you agree or disagree that as far, because I want women to start saying, yes, we need men.
Of course.
Because men already devote their life to getting a woman.
I knew that.
But women are denouncing the importance of men. And that's a part of killing the gender war. It's like, hey, you know what? You're right. Most women homeowners gain their home ownership through divorce. Most women that are wealthy gain their wealth through divorce. That is you literally gaining your success from a man. You married a man that was wealthy, divorced him, took half his shit, and that's how you got put on. Or let's just say you started a business or whatever. A man had to sign that check.
Right. Well, I mean, if you want it was the opposite for me. We bought our house, but I was the primary. No one cut me a check. We own our house and I was the primary. But I must say that I knew that I wanted a husband. I wanted a man, regardless of what the situation I was in. And this is where women especially, don't know how to separate the two. And I can't say why exactly, but I knew that my kid and I want a husband. I wanted that life. And I knew that in order to do that, I had to work on myself. I said I wanted, and that's exactly what I wanted. When I started dating him, I told him my intentions, what I wanted, and it was up to him to accept it or not accept it. And clearly he accepted it. But if I would have went through 3, 4, 5 years dating him and not telling him what I wanted and what I desired, just because I desire something doesn't mean somebody's supposed to give it to me, right? Just because you tell someone what you desire doesn't mean, but at least you were honest and you knew the steps to take from that. But yes, I would say for me, I wanted a man. Yes, I don't want just any man. I wanted one man. I wanted to marry specifically. I didn't want to no longer live in that way any longer. That was a decision that I made for myself.
But do you credit like he's saying, do you
success
credit
to
your
men?
Success from men, or it's like a yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you credit your success as a man being a part of your life?
A part of my life, of course.
I'm saying no, but he's saying, do you think you would reach the same heights without a man?
I'm saying you would not reach the same success without a man.
No.
It's not possible for women to reach success without men.
Not the holistic perspective. Not the holistic, no.
Typically, from anything, from the government to the workplace, it's gonna be a man that's initiating certain things. So 9 times out of 10, you're gonna need a man. If women just went and did their own society with just women, they would never reach to the points that men reach.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other narrative. But what you're saying and what you're asking, holistically, emotionally, physically, financially, no. For me, I could not. I could probably have a house.
Hold on, not to interrupt you. See, because it's women right now on the live, they're watching it and they're like, oh, she only saying that because she married. That ain't true. We don't need men for nothing. But see, this is what I mean when I'm speaking by the generalization.
Right, and
it's crazy.
You know, and it's fine that they feel that way. But I would say to them, if they don't want to continue to be single, then maybe they need to maybe seek other outlets of thinking as well. I would not, let me give you an example really quickly. With my children, if my husband wasn't there to take care of them, for me to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to a methadone clinic to do an internship, I had to go to every Monday in the morning, 2 hours away from my house. Look at that. I couldn't do it without him because he was in my home. He is the father. If we didn't have that relationship, who was going to watch him for me to be able to go there? I worked full time as well for the county as well. I was a DCFS, a social worker full time, on the books. I went to school, I interned, and I worked full time. And I worked out, and I had 2 kids at that time. I have 4 now.
Right.
With a man that was there to support what I wanted to do. So yes, I wouldn't have been able to go back to school again.
So you agree?
Of course.
Okay, cool. That's all. I just wanted to hear a woman say she agreed.
Of course.
That's all I wanted to hear was a woman say she agreed. Ladies, you cannot gain any type of success in a man's world if you are not attached to a man in some type of way, directly or indirectly. So let's kill all the independent woman bullshit. Women are dependent on men. Men are dependent on other men. We're dependent on
and men are dependent on women as well. That's
for certain things.
Yeah, they are.
For certain
There's
things.
There's a lot of things that I
for sex and to procreate
it's not enough time in today to talk about that. We can talk about that next time.
Shit, we got time. Look. Okay, look. Let me ask you this.
Not today.
This is my stance.
I gotta pee.
Okay, we finna wrap it up. This finna be the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I say women that are in, not even just women, people that are in abusive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I say they're in them because they're addicted to the abuse. They choose to be in them because they damn near want to be in them.
Mm-hmm.
You hear people say, man, I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years. I couldn't get out. I didn't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. I go, bullshit. You was damn near loving that abuse. Because no one in the world abuses people more than they abuse themselves. People wake up every day, look in the mirror, beat themselves down.
Mm-hmm.
They find everything wrong with themselves. They find everything wrong with their life.
Mm-hmm.
They just constantly abuse themselves. And when they get into situations where they start getting abused,
mm-hmm.
it's like they tolerate it because hey, I abuse myself every day.
Some women don't, I'm going to say whatever. Some women don't think you love them if you don't put your hands on them.
Right.
Not saying that.
Women saying that type of
some
shit.
psychologically think like, well, I can't fuck with you if you ain't going to check me like that or putting your hands on me.
Right. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Just because something feels good, dopamine again and serotonin is not only secreted by things that make you feel great, it also is secreted by things that make you feel safe. And I know that might sound ridiculous, but there's somebody out there that might can identify with that they think that because that's what their mama has been exposed to or grandma was exposed to or whatever it was, that when the man did do those things, if this, depending on how that parent responded and came back, then maybe it was, they're fighting and the next thing they're hugging and he bringing a gift or whatever it is. You never know what someone has been programmed throughout their childhood and through early adulthood to accept. So then they start to incorporate that cycle within themselves. So sometimes when women will say things like, if he's not yelling at me, that means he don't care about me. Or if he's not questioning where I'm going, he don't care about where I'm going. He don't care about me. No, maybe he's just a healthy human being. And that was something that I had to learn as well. Because that is exactly how my husband was before he was my husband. If I said I was going to go out, oh, okay, what time you coming back? All right, I'll see you then. You're not going to ask me anything? No.
Oh shit! Okay, we run out of time. Not to cut you off, but we are definitely going. We definitely gonna run a part two. Because I feel like we really just started getting into the good shit. Like you started warming up. You feel me? I'm gonna say this though.
Yes,
as far as the abusive relationships and all that shit,
I don't condone it.
The limit of self-abuse that a person would tolerate from other people is the limit that they put on themselves.
Right.
When another person abuses you more than you abuse yourself, at that point, you'll walk away. You'll leave the situation. But as long as you can tolerate it, that's how much you pretty much beating yourself up. So when I don't really have sympathy for people that stay in abusive relationships or choose to stay. Because it's like you could have got your goofy ass up and got on. So
well, I do. So
I don't have sympathy and empathy for people like that.
For being in it, it's a difference between being looking outside the window and being inside the window. And even though I don't condone either, they're both unhealthy. When you're in it and you now I can sit in this seat and then objectively look at myself back then and criticize myself like, what was it that Gloria that you needed back then? Now I know what it is. So therefore I won't go back to that. So I think if I give any woman the key, even if you're in it and you get out of it, you will find yourself back in it later in life, even if you have 30 degrees. If you don't realize why you were in it, what you needed from it, and how else, another healthy way for you to get what you needed back then.
Look, y'all tune in, man. This is going to be dropping real soon. I'm going to end it on this. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the insight. Look, we finally didn't have no yelling, no screaming, no drunk, ratchet thoughts, twerking, and none of that. You feel me? So we going to see what the feedback we get. But, you know, like I said.
Google.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, listen. I'm going to say this. She's indoctrinated. She has been domesticated.
She hella programming. Her whole laptop was straight Google.
She's programmed. Listen, you can gain information from everywhere. But it does not have to only come from a college book that was peer reviewed.
But even the crazy thing is, all her shit was the same thing, just in a laptop. You talk about my phone, all you had was a laptop.
Hey, look, y'all tune in, man. Share, like, subscribe to the channel. When does your book drop?
Soon, probably next month or so. It's called Seed of a Strawberry.
Where can they get this?
Follow me on the Dream Life Wellness Studio on Instagram, on TikTok. If anybody is in need of any kind of counseling, therapy, individual, whatever it is, holler at me.
The viral way.
We about to go viral.
The viral way. And we outside the matrix. We outside the box, baby.